So I want to start to work with you to try to make a more beautiful gesture, okay? And here's how the first thing that I want to show you is we're going to break the figure down into separate masses, all right? So let's start with the head mass. We'll say the head is going to be a circle. And every time you draw a mass, for every time you draw a mass, what I want you to start doing is I want you to start thinking about it. Watch what happens if I put the sagittal line on it. You see how that turns the mass in that direction? Now I can put the line, the transverse line, watch. I don't have to put, if I put the transverse line here, you see how that takes the head and it turns it down this way? So if you're looking to, though these are our controls. Now here's the coronal line, watch. I'm going to put it right there. You see how that turns the head in that plane? So we've got the head turning in three separate directions, and it makes it so that we end up with a lot more control over the volumes, okay? Now here, so let's say that the head volume is a circle, okay? Let's imagine that the chest volume is a cube. Now, the chest comes with built-in, the chest comes with built-in perspective. You know, the cube, the circle doesn't quite have the same level of built-in perspective, but the chest really, the cube really does. However, if I put the middle, the sagittal line, a little further towards this edge, you see how it increases that the size of this one. And now if I reinforce in that way and I reinforce in this way, okay, now the position of this volume, the position, the feeling of it, it really starts to grow, okay? Here's another circular volume. And notice the overlap here. And notice the overlap here. And that has a really nice effect. Okay, so here I want to turn in. And I want to take the belly and I'm going to turn it downwards by doing this. Okay, and I'm going to turn it a little more towards me. Then see if I do that. That'll have a tendency, so the belly button will be kind of more towards me based on where I put the coronal line and the sagittal line. Okay, the pelvic region, very frequently referred to as the pelvic block. Center line, transverse plane, coronal plane, so the shape of the thigh, very frequently, it's round. So you see how we're going round, square, and this can be thought of as round. A lot of times it's kind of considered like a football. So the thigh area, let's think of it as kind of round. And then it will be inserting into a square. The knee, the top of the knee is a square. turning it a little bit more towards me. Here's the square for that knee. And now the calf, a nice big triangle. And then the foot, another block. The shoulder. So this whole part of the body goes, it goes round, square, round, square, round, square, triangle, square. And this comes to us from an artist named George Bridgman, who's a draftsman and a teacher from the early 20th century, teaching at the Art Students League. So this is just the body. We'll get to the arms in a minute. So when you do a gesture like this, the way that I want you to work on your gesture is you'll start a gesture like this. And you can look for the leg that carries the weight first. So we'll start with a stick figure, okay? And you're looking for the basic feeling of the pose. Here's a pose with a really basic feeling to it, okay? Now the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go in and we're gonna start to try to fill this in. So, and don't make these shapes exactly, okay? So watch what I do. So the head, I want to be round-ish, okay? But I want the head to be turned down and looking in that direction, okay? And I'm going to be looking for coronal, transverse. And this is a gesture, okay? So I'm only putting in enough to establish the basic feel of the pose, okay? So this is not like, we don't want to be taking this drawing to real extremes. Okay, so the square of the chest. There's that line. I'm going to use the end of the pectoralis here. I'm going to use that to suggest my transverse. Okay. And I want to put, okay. Now the round of the belly. Here's the round of the belly. This time the belly is taking this form and it's taking this body and it's turning it. It's turning on the belly. And so I want to show the turn of this body through the belly. And you can see how I've got my 3 lines suggesting the directionality of that form, okay? The block of the pelvic girdle. Here's the center line. In this instance, why is the belly turned so far one way and the pelvic girdle, it's not working? So what I want to do is I need to bring it more. I've turned the body without turning the pelvis. So I need to organize this. So my pelvis is going to go more like this. And now this is going to come over that way. And now that becomes my coronal line on the belly. And this comes out. Here's my center line. That's my sagittal plane for the pelvis. Okay. And the bottom. So you can see how I'm getting And here's the circle of the thigh, the circle of the thigh. Watch now, because this leg is going away from us. You see the way that I cross the contour in that shape? Okay, that's really important. Crossing the contour. It's the shape here is round, and it's a football, and it comes down into a square. Okay, and I'm just like looking to shape it, and that's going to be my coronal line, and whereas the sagittal line is going to be about there. Okay, and I'm just suggesting these. You don't have to like draw everything. You can just, so long as you're talking to yourself with your drawing, these gesture drawings very frequently are just to talk to yourself. Okay, there's the square of the knee. And I want to replace that gesture line there, 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 and now it's below eye level here. Okay. The triangle of the calf. And the block of the foot. Okay, the top of the arm. So this part of the arm is circular. The shoulder is circular-ish, okay? And I'm going to use my my 3 markers to help orient the neck, to help orient the shoulders. The top of the arm is cylindrical. The bottom of the arm is, in a sense, wide. It's like the thigh. It's wide at the beginning and it moves down into a square at the wrist. Okay? So it's kind of like a chicken bone where you've got all this meat up here and then it moves down into an area that's all bone, but it's also really squared off where it's all bone, okay? For right now, we'll just leave the hands as blocks, and I'll go in and I'll devote a class to talking about how to draw the hands. The neck is a cylinder, but remember that it lands on this whole side. So in this instance, the neck has to go like that. It has to come to the center. And if it looks strange, that means we've done something wrong, right? Like, so I want to bring it over this way because it just looks too strange. And so then my center has to move a little bit this way. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to practice drawing gestures like this. Now, this is a nicely fleshed out kind of full gesture, right? Here, I have to do this. And now I want to show you the next step. Okay. Oopsies. Okay, with your gestures, I want you to do this. Why is it's so hard for me. Sorry, I'm trying to copy this little shape here, and I'm not getting it right. But I think I figured it out, guys. Okay. Okay. So the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to go through and to lightly fill them in, to do this. I want you to lightly fill the gesture in. And if you want to, you can use this as an opportunity to practice shading. And if you want to shade along the contours. Some of you guys in class are really getting a good handle on shading, and some people it seems to be more of a struggle for. I'm going to try to demonstrate like really nice clean shading here. Okay, so and I'm just lightly staying in the same area and filling and filling and filling. And one of the things that one of the ways that pencil works is it's kind of an overlapping medium. It's like, it's a little, so this now is practicing shading, like practicing with a coloring book. Okay. So you're aiming for a nice even tone across the entire thing. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to go back and with a harder line, I want you to outline, okay? And to really, what we want to look at is we want to look at the quality of the silhouette that we've developed, okay? And this is a really nice way to analyze the effectiveness of a gesture. And this helps us separate the figure from the ground. Okay, now once you have that done, the next thing that I want you to do is on the bottom of the forms, like let's decide on a light direction. So let's say that's the light direction. Now on the bottom of the form, I want you to go through and darken. Okay, so here's the bottom of the form for the chest. Here's the bottom of the form for the belly. Here's the bottom of the form for the pelvic block. Here's the bottom of the form for the thigh. Here's the bottom of the form for the thigh. Okay, here's the bottom of the form for the triangle. Here's the bottom of the form for the triangle. Okay, here's, we don't see the bottom of the, there's the bottom of the form for the arm. Here's the bottom of the form for the arm. Here's the side. When I'm saying it's the side away from the light, okay? Light passes down these like a cylinder. So I'm going to show the light direction. Okay, here's the bottom of the hand there. And I don't have the bottom of a hand there. Okay, here's this side away from the light. Okay, then if you wanted to go back and reinforce it one more time, you could go back with your eraser and you could erase out the light side of the form. Here's the light side of the form. There would be a cast shadow there, and here's the light side of the form. And this could be the light side of the form. Like, what direction is the light passing on this thing? Here's the light side of the form. There's the light side of this, the light side of this, the light side of that, the light side of that, and the light side of the foot. And then if you want to go back to that again, you can go back in and fix your outline now. Okay. And that turns out to be a really nicely developed gesture drawing, so you can really see the pose that we're in. Now, if you're working with an individual, some kind of character that you're designing, one of the things that the character has is they have very individual proportions. But what I want you to do is I want you to try to do 10 of these. 10 really nice, terrible R, speaking of really, 10 really nice shaded gestures. And I'd like you to start with the line drawing like that. Then I'd like for you to go through and move. This is the second stage of the drawing, and then this is the third stage of the drawing, okay? And this should take our so right now the gestures that we're doing, if you guys go and look at the gestures that we're doing, they're tending to, they're nice because they're looking fluid, right? But they're not getting enough volume. They're not getting enough like weight, and we can be fluid and at the same time handle a lot more. Okay, the other thing, the last thing that I want to tell you about gestures is I just went and found a video of an activity that was really interesting to me. So I think that skateboarding is cool, and it brings like great shapes. But you know what I would recommend is that you go to YouTube and that you look up like skateboarding, or you look up surfing or wrestling, or there's so many different things that get people's bodies into incredibly active ballet dancing, or things that are there are things that are extremely fluid, like figure skating. Okay, so practice gestures and grab up motions that you think are really interesting. There is. I'll bring him up tomorrow. Okay, so this is going to be your gesture work. Okay. And I'll post this video.